All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It's Overreaction Monday here on the Chiefs Report. We talk about all the overreactions on Twitter and social media after the Chiefs' 28-21 loss to the Buffalo Bills. We also got some huge news this morning as a player for the Chiefs finally has returned to the field, and we'll have a bye week to ramp up his activities back to gameplay. We'll talk about him on today's show. And finally, the NFL trade deadline is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. The Chiefs need to make some moves. We'll talk about the 6 most likely trade candidates / the 6 best trade candidates for the Kansas City Chiefs and what they are looking for. We're happy you chose to join us here on your daily listen of the Chiefs Report on the Rogue Media Sports Network, your daily source for Chiefs news. And we've got a lot of it here today on the show, as I'm Jace Andrews, and we're talking all things related to Kansas City. So let's first start with yesterday's game. We had a full post-game reaction. You can go check that out. But I think today we need to focus more on the overreactions, because when a loss like that happens on national television to a team that you are all too familiar with in the postseason beating them and in the regular season losing to them, as you're now 1-5. And well, for the Chiefs, you go to 1-6, or excuse me, you go to 1-5 with this loss, and there are a couple big things to note, to look at, and let's talk about kind of the overarching theme of these reactions and what we're seeing across the landscape. So the first thing we have to look at is this game from a logistical standpoint, and understanding that the Chiefs did their best in this game, which is an overreaction in and of itself, that the Kansas City Chiefs could have done nothing more to win this game, which is true in some aspects, because ultimately the thing that I think they could have done more would have been to have Isaiah Pacheco. The running game was just so inconsistent. 79 rushing yards on 20 attempts. They did have 2 touchdowns, but it was Rashee Rice and Kareem Hunt punching it in from the goal line. Nothing about this running back room, nothing about this rushing attack screams we are going to be good enough to carry this team to the AFC Championship. We're going to be good enough to be a part of this team. And the passing attack with Patrick Mahomes, Rashee Rice, Hollywood, Travis, and everybody that's included there, Xavier Worthy, can be good enough to carry this team. It can be. But when you get into the playoffs, when you get into games like the one that you had yesterday, you really need to have that rushing attack be a prominent factor in your offensive attack. And so that kind of leads me to the second overreaction, which is that the Chiefs are not an AFC Championship caliber team. The Chiefs are not a Super Bowl caliber team. And that overreaction to me is stemming more from the fact that the Chiefs this season have played well against the teams they should play well against, and have lost against the teams that, well, you expect those teams to be in the playoffs. I mean, let's just go back. Let's look at the schedule and kind of break this down game by game as to what I mean by that. The first thing we have to look at is the opponents and the teams they've lost to, and if they're going to make the playoffs, and the teams they've beaten, if they're going to make the playoffs. They lost immediately this season to a Los Angeles Chargers team that is very good and should make the playoffs. In my opinion, the AFC South has 3 playoff caliber teams. They then proceeded to lose to Philadelphia 20-17. Close game. It was in Arrowhead Stadium, and you lost. Ultimately, there's that. That's a playoff team. They then won 2 games. You beat New York, who is not a playoff caliber team. They've gone through 2 quarterbacks, and they are not a team that I expect to see in the postseason. So you beat a team that is not in the postseason. So in theory here, you have lost 2 to the postseason teams and won 1 against a regular team. You then played the Baltimore Ravens, who this year have not been playing well. And I know there's Lamar Jackson injuries, and I know they start off 1-5. I'll call them a fringe team just because I think in a lot of minds they're a playoff caliber team. We go with that. The Jacksonville Jaguars, this year they are a playoff caliber team. You lost 31-28. The Detroit Lions, I think they're a playoff caliber team, 30-17. The Las Vegas Raiders, they are not a playoff team. You beat them 31-0. Washington, after what we saw last night in the injury to Jaden Daniels, praise for him and bless. Hopefully he can figure it out. Hopefully he's fine. I know that he's not going to play the rest of the year. He shouldn't. Absolutely gruesome injury. Don't look it up. But they beat Washington 28-7. They're not a playoff team, in my opinion. Then Buffalo, they're a playoff team. You are 28-21. So if you want to go record by record here against teams that have very high aspirations to make the playoffs, if not go further in the playoffs, this year, if you want to include Detroit, You are 1-4. If you include Baltimore, you're 2-4. Every other win that you have is against a non-playoff caliber team. And so the concerning factor that I have is if you look at this schedule, Denver's a playoff caliber team. That's after your bye week. Indianapolis is a playoff caliber team from what we've seen this season. Dallas, it's yet to be seen. Their defense is terrible. We'll see what happens tonight against the Arizona Cardinals for them. Houston, I think, has playoff aspirations. I don't know if I consider them a playoff team. Los Angeles is a playoff caliber team. You already lost them once. Tennessee is not a playoff caliber team. Denver is. Las Vegas is not. So if we're going strictly off the fact of, let's say you win 2 games against your playoff teams here in the last stretch, you're going to go, in theory, against Denver, Indianapolis, Denver twice again, Los Angeles, and maybe Houston. You're going to go 2-4 again, 2-3. And then you'd have to win Tennessee. You'd have to beat Las Vegas. You'd have to beat Houston. You'd have to beat Dallas. The playoffs are in a weird spot right now. I understand that we can't really talk about that because ultimately it's week 10. There's still 8-9 weeks left in the season. But this loss, it causes for concern because if you cannot beat these playoff caliber teams and these teams that are going to be in the postseason, but you can beat the teams who aren't going to be, well, then let's say you even make the postseason. Let's say you get there. What happens then? I know Kansas City, year after year, they've been able to turn it on in the postseason. I mean, you talk about the year 2023 where you lose the first game of the year to the Lions. There was so many bad games. You end up playing the AFC Championship in Baltimore, and you beat them there. I don't know if I feel that same confidence with this team right now. And that leads to the trade deadline and what acquisitions do you have to make? And finally, to me, the third overreaction is that without a move from Brett Veach, and I'm not talking just like, some smaller move, without a move like Breece Hall type, Alvin Kamara, or Chuba Hubbard, this team cannot be a contender in the playoffs, much less an AFC championship or that. And that's the overreaction that I don't necessarily vibe with because I think a lower level move can be made and it can still work out. Does it need to be a running back? Yes. But in my opinion, Jerome Ford is not going to be considered this top level move. He's not. But I think he moves the needle for me. I think he does because then you add to this running back room another guy. And without Isaiah Pacheco this week, it was tough. I like Brashard Smith, but the running back room this week was weird. You had Kareem Hunt, Xavier Worthy, Brashard Smith, Rashee Rice, Mahomes, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire all have at least one carry. In fact, Xavier Worthy and Patrick are the only ones who had just one carry. Everybody of that had multiple. The running back room is a problem. A trade, I think, is not necessarily like a 1,000% must, but it's about as close as it can be to make this team a playoff contending team. And I understand that there's different routes to that. Playoff contending team, AFC championship contending team, Super Bowl team. But what we've been through this road before. We expect the Chiefs to go out there. We expect them to make the playoffs. We expect them to go to the AFC championship. It's run through Arrowhead. It's run through Kansas City for legit the past 5 years, 6 years almost. Patrick Mahomes will figure it out. I'm not worried. This was a tough game from him, but ultimately it was great coverage by the Buffalo Bills and more on the receivers to find a way to get open. You're in Orchard Park. You're in a hostile environment, and the game wasn't going your way, and yet you still only lost by 7. I think you did a lot of good things. I think there's not really much you could have done more besides have the receivers find some open routes, but it's just an intriguing thing to me, this game, because the overreactions are there. The overreactions, I think, in some aspects are valid. But in the same breath, there's nothing that I can look at or a single play or single this or that I can look at and say, yeah, if the Chiefs do that, they win this game. Maybe you could say if the running back room was better, maybe. But I can't be 100% confident. And in games like this in the past, when the Chiefs have lost a game like this, it's always been something like, okay, they can change this play. They can change this positionment. They can change this, or this one thing in this one player in this one drive, and boom, they win that game. It's not how this happened. It's not how this game went. And it's not how you can think about this game. It really isn't, because there's a lot more in-depth details to this one, but you lost, you move on, you have a bye week, and you're getting some reinforcements back. That leads me to my next topic. Josh Simmons returns. In case you were wondering, it's been like 5 weeks now since he has dealt with quote unquote family matters. Ian Rappaport today had the report, though, that some good news for the Chiefs as first round offensive tackle Josh Simmons has returned to the team after dealing with a family issue these past few weeks. Kansas City has a bye week, serving as a time off reacclimation. Josh Simmons has gotten some intriguing reports on Twitter this morning, this afternoon, and even yesterday. I think for the past 3 weeks, or even before yesterday, there was a bunch of people that were saying for Josh Simmons, take that time. For a family matter, it was mental. There was partial that was mental health. Like there was a bunch of stuff. Take that time, get in the right headspace. That's fine. But after the loss yesterday, or maybe it just was the timing of it, maybe that it's been long enough, the verbiage and the attitude around Josh Simmons switched. It was, you do you fix that, you get your mental health right, you get this all figured out. And that switched to, we need you back. We can't be having a guy who is for family matters. Again, we don't know what the family matters are. And without trying to be insensitive, because we don't know that, there are people on X, there are people on social media, on Twitter, whatever you want to call it, basically stating that it's been 5 weeks. I don't know a single job that allows you to take 5 weeks off for family matters. It's just not how that works. And so he was getting some slack on Twitter. And so I'm very happy to have him back. I'm very happy that it's now, because he gets a whole bye week to reacclimate to the team, to any bad air. I don't think it's going to be there in the Chiefs organization, especially considering the way that Coach Andy Reid has talked about it, and this organization has mentioned Josh Simmons, saying, they support him. So they know more than us. And maybe there's a bigger story in his family that we can't know. But at the same time, 5 weeks is a lot, or whatever it has been. At this point in time, you really do need him to come back. You really do need him to perform. You really do need that person on the offensive line. You've had some guys step up. You've been great, but nothing is going to be able to replace a first-round offensive tackle. And to go even further, his PFF grade is nothing to be like ecstatic about. 62.9, and he's ranked 42nd out of 76 tackles. He does have a great pass block grade of 71.2, which ranks him 26th out of 76 tackles. But the biggest thing to me is this guy's a rookie. You want that development out there. You have him for 4 years. I don't know a single GM out there that has their first round pick, and whether you need him or not, doesn't want him to be in the organization, in the facility, playing in the games, and whatever sort of facet that might be for that certain player. You want that experience. You want that growth. You want him to be in there. And so I'm happy he's back. I understand that family matters are family matters. And from the way that the Kansas City Chiefs talked about it, I'm okay with that being a topic. I'm okay with the Chiefs, the way they talk about it. It seems like they weren't too worried about that. The family matter was very important, and they supported him. So I'm happy for that. However, we need him back now. We do, because the most important stretch of the season is coming up for these next, after the bye week, the next 4 weeks. So fingers crossed this can be the spark in some ways that helped that offensive line out. I don't think that it was any like bad since he's been gone, but it definitely could use a little bit of help. So I'll be intrigued to see how he plays against Denver. Obviously, having that much time off, it's intriguing to me to see how you reacclimate to the team, especially as an offensive lineman. That causes, a lot of timing with that. And we know the false start issues that the Chiefs have had in past years and with certain players. So don't want that to become an issue. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about those 6 trade candidates that would be best fit for the Kansas City Chiefs and break down this NFL trade deadline that is, at this point, we're talking 24 hours away-ish. So we'll take a break, come right back. This is the Chiefs Report on the Rogue Sports Media Network.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hinomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Unlock a world of convenience with Mullybox, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. Each box is tailored to your tastes. Experience the joy of surprises. Subscribe today at mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com. Unlock your full potential with Onnit, your go-to for premium supplements, fitness gear, and wellness essentials. Whether you're training hard, recovering faster, or just looking to feel your best, Onnit has the tools you need to perform at your peak. Visit Onnit, that's ONNIT.com, and elevate your mind, body, and spirit today. At Rolls Rolla, we don't just sell wallpaper, we create cohesive, cozy spaces. Our deep understanding of design means every pattern, color, and texture is carefully chosen to complement your home. Plus, we use advanced technology and water-based inks for vibrant, eco-friendly prints, ensuring a healthier environment. Visit rollsrolla.com to transform your space today. That's ROLLSROLLA.com today.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
At Tusain's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
Ready to bring your vision to life? At Small Rig, every idea, design, and product is inspired by you, the creator. With our industry-first under co-design mode and the Dream Rig free customization project, we unite with global creators to turn big dreams into reality. Whether it's a cage rig or mount, Small Rig's versatile gear is built to elevate your craft. Small Rig, where your creativity meets our innovation. Go to smallrig.com.
Calling all Marvel fans, get Marvel Unlimited and unlock over 30,000 comics featuring your favorite heroes and iconic stories, all available to read anytime, anywhere. Whether you're into classic tales or the latest adventures, there's something for everyone. Don't miss out. Head to marvel.com/unlimited today and start your Marvel journey now. At Angel Bliss, we believe every parent's journey is a beautiful adventure. Our mission is to make it joyful and stress-free with thoughtful, safe, and innovative products. Born from a love for family, we promise peace of mind for parents and comfort for babies. From playtime to bedtime, every Angel Bliss product is designed with care, reliability, and a style to nurture the special bond between parent and child. Angel Bliss, creating happy memories, one baby at a time. Visit us at angelbliss.us. Angel Bliss.
Welcome back in here to the Chiefs Report. Jace Andrews speaking with you on the Rogue Sports Media Network. We talked about Josh Simmons' return. We talked about the overreactions from this past loss yesterday against the Buffalo Bills, but the biggest story of today is really not happening today. It's happening tomorrow. It's the NFL trade deadline at 4 p.m. Eastern time. The Chiefs are expected to be active, but how active? What are the latest reports we're hearing? And what's the details on the best trades for the Kansas City Chiefs? We'll start first with what the media is hearing across, the insiders, and kind of all that. As of right now, the Chiefs apparently were in on Jalen Phillips. If you don't know, Phillips was traded this early morning to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Miami Dolphins edge rusher is now officially off the market. He went for a third-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles. Would I have liked to have him? Yeah, but I think in the same aspect, he was not an important thing to get, especially for a third-round pick for the Kansas City Chiefs when you're looking more for depth on the defensive interior line, not the edge rushing units. Ashton Giletti has been great in terms of coming on and filling that need after the injury to Omar Norman Lott, but The defensive line, I think, is still definitely an issue, but as I've mentioned throughout this show, I really believe the most important position, the most important place for the Chiefs to go out and get somebody is definitely a running back. And I don't see that being a problem for Brett Veach to do. And if you think about the top realistic targets, you talk about running backs like Jalen Wright from the Miami Dolphins, who would be very cheap and could very much help out your squad. Uh, I think in theory, though, that takes away from Brashard Smith. So ultimately, it's really up to what the feeling is with Brashard Smith and this running back room and how aggressive do you need to be? Because there's guys like Jalen Wright, who's cheap, easy, and would be good fit and would help out your running back room to some extent. And there's the middle option of Jerome Ford, where you can get him for a relatively cheap price, given the Browns don't really need him. However, there is a decent market for him, so you might be in a bit of a bidding war with other teams out there, so something to watch for that. And then finally, the third option, I'm going to say Breece Hall, but I'm going to go through 3 different targets here on the running back room in just a moment. But Breece Hall is the top guy that he's going to cost a pretty penny. The expectation, I believe, for the Jets is a 2nd-round pick, a 3rd-round pick. I think they might have said 1st, but I don't know if they're going to get that from anybody for Breece Hall. If I'm the Kansas City Chiefs after yesterday's game, I'm getting on the phone. I'm calling New York. I'm saying, what is it going to take for Breece Hall? What is it going to take to get him back on this roster? And I think from there, you can kind of make the decision of what's the move. The hope is that you can get that, and for a cheap price, you can add Breece Hall, and you're immediately a top contending favorite. I think that changes the whole dichotomy of this team. I think that changes the whole outlook of this team. But Breece Hall is not the only option. I'm going to go through some other targets here, pop them up on the screen, kind of talk about it if you're watching on YouTube. But if you're listening, we'll do our best, kind of describe everything and go through why these options work. So these are all going to be top tier options, and I'm going to give you some pros and cons and why they would work or why they wouldn't work. And the first one is Alvin Kamara, the running back out of the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are 1-7. He's got a pretty good ideology of a dual threat running back. He can catch, he can run, he can do a lot. He's definitely older. He's 30 years of age. His season this year has been relatively like a 30-year-old. I mean, it's been good at times, it's been bad at times. There's kind of been that up and down tendency with him. The problem with him, and the thing that probably is why the Chiefs, or maybe any team across the league, won't go out and get him, is there was a report about a week and a half ago that came out in which Alvin Kamara publicly stated that he does not want to be traded. And not just that he didn't want to be traded, but to the extent where he said, if I get traded, I'm going to go somewhere on a beach. Basically saying, if I get traded, I'm retiring. That's kind of what he went with that. So I think that's going to deter teams. I think that's going to deter the Chiefs specifically, just because you don't want to make a trade and then have somebody retire on you. I mean, that's not. I mean, ultimately, the trade wouldn't go through, but it's still that if you're on Tuesday working the deadline, trying to get him, you get him, and then he retires, and obviously the trade wouldn't go through, then you kind of just wasted all that time. You didn't get it. You didn't get anybody. So that's something to look at. Another guy is Chuba Hubbard of the Carolina Panthers. He's been fantastic, but the thing for the Panthers is they have Rico Dowdle. He was the running back last year for the Dallas Cowboys. He's very, very good. And in the 2 games that Hubbard missed, Dowdle had like 200 plus yards on the ground. Now, does that mean that Carolina is willing to trade one of them is kind of the interesting part, because as much as you want to say the Panthers are not a good team, they're playing pretty well. They beat the Packers yesterday. They were playing very, very well. So I don't really know if the Panthers will be willing to let go of Chuba Hubbard, especially given he's under contract through the 2028 season. He'd be a high-priced target, but if you got Chuba Hubbard and add him to this offense, I believe he serves the same purpose as Breece Hall. You add him to this offense, you're immediately an upper echelon, top-tier Super Bowl contending team. If you aren't already, you just put yourself at the top. So I think that's a very big thing, is you can add him and be at a very good spot. Obviously, 5th year in his NFL career out of Oklahoma State. Got a 4-year extension with Carolina through the 2028 season. So He's not just an option for this year, but for the next 3 years. I mean, that's a very good thing to have. And then, of course, Breece Hall is definitely a very good option as well. He's the creme de la creme. He's the guy where if you're going all in, go get him. I've said this before, and I don't want this to come off harsh or wrong or in the right or wrong tone, but I'm not saying the Chiefs are in a situation where their time is limited for this dynasty. But you can see that Travis Kelce looks a little bit older at times. Chris Jones looks a little bit older at times. And the money's hard in some facets. And the Chiefs are able to win with lower players and receivers and or players on defense and all that. But strike now. Strike now. Dynasties don't last a long, long time. You've already exceeded most dynasties. I mean, the only one you're comparing to at this point is the Patriots. So go out there and make the move. What's it going to lose to you? I mean, your first round pick this year was gone for 5 weeks. I think Breece Hall is a perfect guy to come in for Kansas City. He would change this team so much. 581 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns this year. He has more than 200 yards more than Pacheco. He also has 178 receiving yards. He's a good dual threat running back. He can run, he can catch, he can do so much. I don't see how he is more than a perfect option. I mean, he is like legit what you want, what you expect, and hopefully what the Chiefs can go out and get. The last couple guys going to talk about some defensive tackles. Sebastian Joseph Day, defensive tackle out of Tennessee. Tennessee's been very open. They're on the market for a couple of guys. Sebastian Joseph Day has been one of those. Defensive tackle is a spot where I do think the Chiefs would like to improve upon. However, I think they're less concerned after yesterday's game because the defensive tackle unit was pretty good. I like more of an edge rusher or a speedy defensive tackle just because the problem they've had this year has been containing a running quarterback. And so if you can find somebody who can do that, then I think you're in a good spot. Sebastian Joseph Day, to me, he's not that person. T'Vondre Sweat, also a defensive tackle for the Tennessee Titans. He is a ginormous dude, 6'4", 366 pounds. He would stop the run for sure, which the Chiefs have had some problems with, but I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm more concerned about running quarterbacks, especially when you get closer to the playoffs and certain teams that have running quarterbacks. So I like Sweat. He'd probably be a mid-round pick. He'd be a cheap player. I don't think this is a bad trade at all. I wouldn't mind T'Vondre. He also played at Texas, so kind of a intriguing thing to add him there with Charles Omenihu, something there. And then David Kodjic of the New Orleans Saints defensive tackle. Again, New Orleans is looking to sell. New Orleans is not really keen on this 30-year-old defensive tackle. He's got a 2-year deal, so you'd take him this year. You'd also get him next year. He's going to stop the run. He's going to try and get to the quarterback. He's definitely below his typical production, though. He's not exactly playing at the caliber he's played in his previous years in his career, but he's also 30 years old. So, what are you going to do? I'm curious to see what happens. And with that being said, tomorrow's show we're going to do pretty much right after the trade deadline of what's going to happen, what's next, and if the Chiefs did make any moves. So expect a show tomorrow later in the day. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see what happens. I'm intrigued to see if Brett Veach makes the move and kind of what happens from there. And if I believe at that point the Chiefs are going to be in a spot where I can see them making the playoffs, not making playoffs, making the AFC Championship with the team they have. And I think I can see them making it right now. It's just a little less likely than what it would be like if tomorrow they went and got Breece Hall. So let's kind of see what's happened with what's going on tomorrow. Fingers crossed we'll get some sort of trade. Fingers crossed we'll get some sort of trade that pushes the needle for everybody. But I'll be back on here. We'll talk about it. I'm going to be honest with you. If they don't make a trade, tomorrow's going to be a pretty brutal podcast. I'm not going to lie. Tomorrow will be a podcast where I will come on here and I will put it like it is, saying that the Chiefs did not make a move and that I don't see them going to the AFC Championship again. I don't. If they make a move, if they make a good move, a running back, and if it's a tackle, I can see them in a better spot. But I really think they have to make a move. In the games we've seen this year against teams that are playoff teams, they've not played well. And teams that are non-playoff teams, they played great against. They might enter the playoffs. I'm not saying they're not going to miss the playoffs. I don't think that's going to happen. The problem is in the games in the playoffs, and they're able to turn it on. I understand they're the Chiefs. They can do it, but man, that would be tough to go in there with the team you have right now, a team that doesn't have a running back room. or the defensive tackle unit not having depth in that spot. I mean, I know there's signings and stuff, but man, it's hard to be confident about this team if you do not have somebody helping you out in the running back room or on the interior defensive line. So Brett Veach, the time is yours, my friend. Start the clock. We are 25 and a half hours away from the trade deadline, and a move must be made or it's going to be over. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section on all of this and what we can expect from the Chiefs, what you think, if I'm being over exaggerant here, and that if the Chiefs don't make a move, you think they can still make the playoffs. Let me know your thoughts in the comments of this live or video, or if you're on Apple Music or Spotify, you can always at me on Twitter at JaceAndrews_. For now, though, we'll see you tomorrow. Brett Veach, make some moves. Peace out, guys.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.